So all joking aside, I had posted something about the United Airlines flight where someone was forcibly removed, and it had gotten so much response that I thought I would do this week's video about it. So I fly quite a bit, some for vacation, some for work, and I even have flown a plane a few dozen times on my way to a pilot's license, so I know a little bit about flying. Disclaimer here, just a little. I'm not a pilot. I'm not one of you that has to travel for business every week. I think I travel more than the average guy, but who knows? Anyway, I know enough to know that flying is stressful.
I can't stand it anymore. I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here.
For a number of reasons. Commercial air travel is not the luxurious experience it was when it first became popular for the consumer. It used to look a lot like a very exclusive club where everybody is good looking and the food and drink are all 5-star, right? Now it's more like cattle being herded, except we're the cattle. The cost is much higher and the experience is less desirable for the most part. Now you have to deal with airports and parking and security and standing in line and fighting for overhead space and armrests, and how to buckle your seatbelt, and to remember to put on your own oxygen mask before assisting anyone else. Now that changed over the decades, of course, and I'm not old enough to remember the good old days, so there's another disclaimer. On top of that, the actual flying stresses people out. I know my wife is not a big fan. She settles for Dramamine, but would gladly do Valium if given the opportunity, and I think that's true of a lot of people on every single flight. To some degree, most people probably have a fear of flying. I'm sure it's negligible in most cases, otherwise you'd know it on every plane ride, but I think it still exists. So that being said, let's talk about what happened with Dr. Dow and United Airlines last week. I'm not giving any opinion here of who was right or wrong, mostly because I don't care, but that's not the point. I know airlines overbook, and I know airlines struggle to get people to cough up their seats, even with some monetary compensation. But I guess I didn't know that the airline can bump you if they need to, which is what supposedly happened here. Now, what I do gather is that since the airline is required to pay you an amount related to what you paid for your ticket, they're going to identify the people that got the best deal first. Those are the ones to target strictly from a financial standpoint. No argument from me. Makes sense. I'm a capitalist. I work every day helping people trying to get the most from their mortgage, what's best for their dollars, etc. I get it. What I don't get is what went down after they identified who to bump. I still get the rules. If the airline says, hey, you gotta go, them's the rules. I am going to be cranky and whiny about it, and I am probably going to unload on customer service personnel and blast them on social media later, but in the end, I'm going to abide. And I'm going to abide before there is a need for large armed men to help me abide. Right? Not the case here. Again, I'm not defending what any of these people did, just saying what I would do. Take the money and run. So then things turned ugly, even violent, I guess, and now we have a small metal tube full of people, packed full of people, right? Otherwise none of this even goes down. Most of whom are already stressed out either by the whole commercial air travel process or because they don't like to fly. So large armed personnel come on board this plane and have to forcibly remove this passenger. And airplanes are not comfortable, right? They're hard and stiff and unforgiving. Remember, it's not the lap of luxury anymore. This is not your living room. And getting jostled around forcibly inside an airplane with those tight seats and hard armrests sounds horrible.
Just please let me handle this.
Calm down now. Get back to your seat. I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
And it was. The good doctor got hurt to some degree and was bleeding while literally getting dragged down the aisle of a regional airplane. So small that I would probably have to shuffle sideways down the aisle just to get my fat butt to my seat. But here's where I diverge. Once this started to turn ugly, like when large armed men came on board, I'm done. I'm getting off. Take my seat, give me my money, and I'll take the next flight, no problem. And here's why. Remember me talking about all these stressed out people? Man, did that get exacerbated, huh? Like 200 times over. So now you've got a metal tube packed, and it is packed, with people that are way more stressed out than they even would be just having to travel and fly. I don't want to be on that airplane. I don't want to be a part of that. No, thank you. I will gladly identify the nearest exit. And yes, I am keeping in mind that it may be behind me. Flying is tough. People do all kinds of stupid things on airplanes, from not wearing their seatbelts while seated to vomiting in little paper bags. And that's assuming a normal flight. If something went wrong on that flight, there isn't a cool head on board to deal with an emergency at that point. Probably not even the crew. Talk about already having a brutal job that just got 10 times worse. Kudos to those people. I hadn't thought about them, but we have a lot of clients that are flight crew, and I have heard some stories. This will be a good one. So what's the lesson here? I don't know. If large armed men come on board to remove you from a flight, I suggest you go. We're pretty touchy about airplanes and airports since 9/11, so I can't imagine how it got as far as it did, but we live in a pretty weird world. And as always, if you or anyone you know needs a mortgage to buy or refinance any real estate here in Colorado, please check us out at corefinancegroup.com, or feel free to call 303-770-2262. Thanks.